Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are going to be talking about single season. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you are single and this is your season, well, ladies and gentlemen, I brought a guest here today so that we can really remind you to embrace it. You need to embrace this moment, embrace this season. Too many people are so stressed out, wanting it to rush over, but no, we need to embrace it. So, ReGina, why don't you go ahead and fully introduce yourself?
Sure. First of all, thank you for allowing me to be on your platform today, Missy. I really appreciate it. My name is ReGina Smithwick. I am a certified life coach. I am a motivational speaker, podcast, talk show host, professional organizer, and I'm an author. So that's what I am.
Pinky out. Well, okay.
And I am expertise of singleness, but that's who I am.
That's awesome. That's a lot of hats that you share. I'm pretty sure that's hard to put in one business card.
It is starting to run out of work. Run out of space on my cards, but that's okay.
That's funny. Oh, so ReGina, I honestly think that people should embrace the singleness because I'm pretty sure you've seen on social media, you've seen around and just been listening to other people's stories that, people have a hard time embracing this. And for me, now that I'm engaged, I low key miss my single season. I'm not gonna lie. I miss having the bed to myself. I miss sleeping like a full clock rotation. I miss not having to depend on anybody.
hmm
Man, do I miss my single season. What are the benefits that you've seen in your single seasons, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no problem. Well, let me go back. I was married. I was married for 12 years. I had three children, two of them almost 18. I got twins, almost done. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so 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 I've been everything. I've been single, I've been married, I've been divorced. So I've been everything. Singleness in a biblical sense is something that's supposed to happen to everyone because it gives you that time to focus on God and it gives you that time to focus on yourself and be a better person. In the Bible, it states that singleness is one of the best seasons, is the best season that you'll ever experience in your life because that's when you get the most growth. Because when
Yes.
you are with someone else, then your focus is going to be on that person. Then when you have children and you have responsibilities and all that stuff, right? So that is going to deter you from being focused on him and focus on your purpose and your callings. Not saying it
Correct.
can't be done, but it's gonna be a little harder to do, right? Because you got other
Correct.
things you got to do. And so a lot of times we are trained to go from mama to man. We are trained to, as soon as we are old enough to date, oh, you got your first boyfriend, you got your first kiss, you got your first this. You go into the prom, oh, after the prom, you go to college and you find your husband. You're gonna get married. When you get married, you get the 2.5 kids, the picket fence and the dog. And then where are you at in this whole scenario? Because it's so pressed on us to get married and so pressed on us to be with someone. Nobody never tells you how to be with you. And then, are you okay with you? And do you know who you are?
Correct. Correct. I love the fact that you were able to put it in a biblical sense as well. For myself, that I go in that path, and I'm spiritual, and I follow my faith with God. And one that was the biggest lesson that I had to learn was when I was reading the Bible. I found that what you exactly said, it's time for you to focus on God and yourself, and living your true purpose, because it is difficult, because our
Mhm.
minds do get distracted. So everything that you said was on point, on points, because it just made me reflect back, and it made me realize, like, the day I literally chose to embrace my singleness and
Mhm.
embrace God in my singleness,
Mhm.
it literally changed my perspective on life. It changed my
There you
perspective
go.
on men, changed my perspective on relationship. It changed my
Mhm.
perspective on where I should be. That
Mhm.
concept of people believe that in society they need to meet certain goals at a certain point in life, and if they
Mhm.
don't meet it, then they're not actually living life, or they're not accomplishing
Mhm.
anything. And I feel like that concept right there of meeting these unrealistic goals that society has put on women and men,
Mm-hmm.
is not only baffling but unrealistic. You know what I mean? It's very unrealistic for people to have that agenda. Just like you said, once you do this, you do this, you do this, and then you have your 2.5 kids. And it's just like, what, when does it really stop? And I think for me, it stops when you say it stops. You know what I mean? When you acknowledge in yourself that you're not going to live the way that society dictates how we should live. You know what I mean? How do you feel about that?
I feel exactly what you feel when it comes to knowing who you are. We got to kind of take like a pause button and kind of stop for a minute. Like we on this rat race, right? Everybody's on this rat race to do
Yeah.
what the society's telling you to do. Now
Yeah.
let's start questioning our own belief systems. Let's start questioning what we really believe in. Do you believe in this, or are you just doing what your parents told you to do? Are you doing what society tell you to do, your church tell you to do? Are you doing what you feel is right through God? Is God directing your path and steps? Because even with being married, I will be honest to tell you that God was not in that plan. I didn't ask God nothing. I went to the little counseling they gave you a couple of weeks before you got married, and that was about it. And I got in front of God and I told him I did. I didn't put him in there in the play of saying, okay, is this the right person for me? Is this the person I have to be supposed to be in my life? Everyone who's supposed to be in your life is not gonna be perfect, but it'll be perfect for you, right? They're not always going to be what you think they're going to be, how you think they're going to look, how you think where they're going to work. That stuff is not important. That stuff is just surface stuff. You need to know what's in this person's heart. Everybody's not going to make $1 million. You're not going to have the bag like everybody's talking about these days. You got to get the bag. You got to be with somebody with this and that and this. A lot of times these women who are with these rich people are not happy. They are external happy with the stuff they have, but a lot of times, they're home by themselves and alone. You could be married and be alone. Being
Yeah.
married doesn't solve everything. And, being married is a beautiful thing. The institution of marriage is amazing. I want to get remarried. I want to be married because I feel that we should have the option to be with someone. I have no issues with that. But what the problem lies is when you depend on that for your happiness. Because what society tells you is when you get married, you won the trophy. You won the trophy. You did it. You got yourself a man. Now, all the other single people, the ones they like peasants now. Oh, poor baby, you don't have a man, you don't have a husband. Oh, sweetheart. Like everybody trying to fix you
Yeah.
up. They feel that you're not happy unless you have someone. And then you
Exactly.
end up being with someone who you don't need to be with because society's telling you you have to be with someone. Now, if you don't want to, that's okay too. If you don't feel your spirit is right for you at the time and you just letting God kind of guide that part of your life, and when he thinks it's right, then it's going to happen and you're good with it. Like you said, when you did your, discovery in your work, you saw it differently. It wasn't a thing that you had to do. You just said, let me just live my life. And then when it comes to me, it's going to come to me organically. It's not going to
Exactly.
press. When he comes to your life, when you come with him, y'all going to come together and y'all be equally yoked and y'all going to want the same thing at the same time. A lot of times we don't want that. A lot of times, one want more than the other because see, you're trying to make things fit, like a circle and a square peg. You're trying to make it fit. And a lot of times it's not supposed to fit. We want to let it go. And we were seasonal people, we married them. We married people who's supposed to just come to our lives, teach us something to move on. So,
Yeah. No, it's absolutely right. And I think what I loved with what you just said earlier is the fact that when you got into your first marriage, you didn't consult with God about it. You just did it because you were driven by your own purpose, by your own self, by your own flesh. And when that happened, everything went turmoil and, it went where it went. But I feel like, how can you what advice can you give someone who's probably going through that? How do they discern from their flesh guiding them through their season of singleness versus their spirit guiding them through their season of singleness? Because those are two different parts in our mind and in our body that we constantly conflict with, that people don't really like to acknowledge and try to actually understand. And I feel like a lot of mistakes or a lot of like struggles we go through is because we don't listen to the right voice.
right.
What is your opinion on that?
So what I came to realize is when it's the flesh, you could kind of tell because it's more self about, being selfish, because you want that feeling of being with someone. You want somebody to validate you. You want somebody to tell you how beautiful you are. You want somebody to give you that attention, right? So if those are the reasons, then you right there knows that that's yourself, that's your flesh working. But when you talk about spiritual, in the spiritual realm of it, you know it's supposed to be when it's given to you in a certain way, like the way it happens so organically and it kind of seamless. Effortless. I always say things that's supposed to come to you easy and effortlessly. It just
Yeah.
comes to you, just nice, like a stream of water, just smooth. You don't have a lot of hiccups and bumps and rumps and all that stuff. Like everything kind of works in. Not saying it's gonna be always perfect because life is not always perfect, but the connection will work seamlessly. And that's how you can kind of tell that God has his hands on it. If you're using him to guide you and you literally took your hand off the wheel and say, you know, like I always say, Jesus, take the wheel, you know, everybody would say that, right? But you
Yeah.
actually let him guide it and you go, okay, I'm gonna do, see, you gotta be, like I always say, you know, you do the possible, he do the impossible. Now, when you're
Yeah.
single, you can't sit at home all day and say, God's gonna bring me this man, he'll come to my house and ring my doorbell, and you know, it doesn't work that way. What God wants you to do is serve him. He wants you to be in service. He wants you to go volunteer. He wants you to go out there and make a change in the world, make a difference in the world. Find that passion and purpose that you love to do. And inside of that, he will link you to that person that you really want to be with. But you got to do it in service. You don't do it just to get out there and say, well, let me do something because, you know, if I go out here, this guy gonna find me. No, literally find out what you have passion for. And this person that is going to come to you is going to have that same passion.
Exactly.
He kind of links you up with people that's going to make change in the world. You know, he wants you to be with that guy that y'all could work together and y'all could do something and actually help people. You know, you don't want to get with someone and then they just sit at home all day and do nothing. And you're basically living your life as a single person, but you're married. A lot of people do that too. They just happen to have a man in the house and a man don't do nothing. And then they go out there doing all this stuff and the man's not supportive. He's not involved. He don't care. But you got a man. You got a man.
I
Like,
know.
don't just go for that. It's not worth it.
Exactly. And I don't think people need to settle. You know, when it comes down to your single season, I feel like people really do need to embrace it because that's your moment to figure out your boundaries. That's your moment to figure out what you like and what you don't like, what you'll tolerate, what you won't tolerate, you know, what you will be willing to do and what you're not willing to do. You
Right.
know, there's so many pressures out there. Like when it was my single season, I encountered men that wanted me to be in a polygamous relationship, but that wasn't me. So I was like, no, that's I can't do that, you know. But the
Right.
man, we had great connection and chemistry, but that right there will cut me off because I wasn't willing to share myself or anybody with somebody else.
Right.
But that's something that I needed to go through to realize because people are like, well, if he still wants me, then maybe, you know, and then
Yeah, I do.
they go against their morals, you know, and I feel like that's where your morals are grounded because you go from childhood being single and living your life doing whatever your parent says to being stuck in a relationship that ends up being toxic, ends up being unhealthy, ends up changing your whole entire mindset to a point where you no longer are the person that you were years ago. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because I was in a toxic relationship for 4 years, and that's exactly how it was. I was living with a man, but it wasn't an actual relationship. And it wasn't a relationship that I asked God about because during that time in my life before we got together, I was in a I was in I was in a desperate moment,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my key way to get out of my desperate situation that I put
Mm-hmm.
myself in, you know what I mean? So
Right.
that was my key out. So that was myself that put myself in there. So the day that I went to God and I was like, God, I keep asking you to bless this relationship, but it's not working for me. It's obviously not being blessed by you. So help, if you want me to get out of this, then help me get out. And God made a way. He
See?
made a way for me to get out of that relationship. And I'm 7 years free. And
Yeah.
once I was done with him, that's when I realized I just wanted to be me. I just wanted to enjoy me. And then that's when I focused on God. And that's when I read the Bible. And that's when I went to church. And then I got baptized. I really put my heart into God, but I was still lonely. I still felt that loneliness,
Right.
So I don't want people to think that that doesn't
No,
just
you're
go
human.
away,
Right.
because it still does. Because like you said, we're human. We all want to feel belonged and connected, because we see other people with this joy of being in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. But what I realize is that the joy that people portray is just a facade, and it's
It sure
not
is.
real, and real joy is something that is only you can experience one-on-one with another individual. And when
Mm-hmm.
it happens to the point where like you don't even realize it's happening. Because
Yes.
I met my fiance like just by going to a mechanic shop to get my car worked on. It's
Mm-hmm.
so just a casual thing to do, a casual maintenance.
Seamless.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
just met him and we talked about life, we talked about God, and as soon as we talked about God, like something in my heart like clicked. And when I left, I was just like, God, what is this? What is this? And that's when I knew like something serious was going to happen between me and him, but I didn't know. So I was like, you know what, God, since you're in this, I'm allow you to really do this. So I didn't text him, I didn't call him. A year and a half later went by, and then he found me. I moved to Wisconsin. He was
Wow.
living in Texas. So I moved, and he found me, and he made the effort to move up to me. And now we're together going on to our second child. So it's like you never know how it's going to happen. You just
Mm-hmm.
literally have to put yourself in situations that are normal that you would, because I'm sorry, but the club is not somewhere you're going to find someone. You know what I mean? I feel like,
Not the norm. I mean, it
yeah, it's
happens,
not, it
but
happens. It's very rare, like
yeah.
very rare. But at the same time, it's not realistic. Go to the club if you want to have fun and dance and wiggle your little butt off. But it's not the whole point. Like when I was single, I didn't really do the club scene because I did it so young.
Mhm.
I had the fake IDs, when I
Mhm.
went
Yeah,
to the
getting in
club.
there, right,
So
before you
then
kinda burn
I
out.
exactly. So by the
Mhm.
time I was like grown enough to actually just go with my regular ID, I was like, this is just stupid to me. Like, this is not fun to me. Like this is just like a waste of time. Because when I was there, all I sensed and all I seen was people just trying to compete with each other, and
Meat
people who
market.
were just
Mhm.
comparing each other. And it's just like, why you want to be in that environment? Like, I know we're talking about us being like embracing that single life, but I feel like when you're single, you have to kind of put yourself in those uncomfortable situations so that you
Mhm.
know what you like and what you don't like.
Right, that's true, and when you said about family and friends and we gotta look at it this way too. When you're working on yourself, right? Being single in the singleness is not just about being single, it's about working on you and doing your work, right? So that's part of it. When you start doing your work, you're going to start noticing that you're going to kind of probably either move away from some people that was in your circle, even your family members. Because remember, if your family members still got that same way of thinking, of they feeling that you're worthless without a man, you need to get a man, you're going to be by yourself, they're going to put that pressure on you, and you're going to feel like you have to, because if you don't have a man, you cannot be happy without one. And that's why a lot of women go into these relationships the way they do, because they're kind of pressing it to make it happen. And it's not supposed to happen the way they want it to happen. You kind of didn't let God do his job. So that's one of the things you said. And another thing, that commercialization is real. And what I mean by
Yes.
that is Jared, Kay, they need their money.
Man, those bastards.
They need their money. They're not there to be happy for your relationships. They want you to get to the point to get the ring. And after that, they don't care what you do. They are
Exactly.
there to make money. Stop falling for these commercials and falling for the social media and falling for all this stuff that's telling you that your life is going to be completely a dream when you get married. Your life is going to be, if you don't know who you are before you get married, you ain't going to know who you are when you're in a marriage.
Oof.
But now you try to cater to
Amen.
someone else, but you can't even tell you can't, how you going to tell someone else to love you if you don't know how to love yourself? You
Thank
can't.
you.
So what happens is we get all into the wedding and the parties and all these reveals everybody's having, all this stuff, and we're not really focused on the relationship itself. And the commercialization makes you feel that that's what life is about.
Yep.
And they are here to sell. Like I said, when Kay and Jared decide to sell rings for sisters, oh, I'll buy my sister a ring, or my
Oh
brother
my God.
a ring, or my best friend, a ring. They don't specialize in that. They specialize where the money's at, because they know that's the way our world is set up. So they specialize in engagements and weddings. That's where their money makers are at. So remember that when you get all riled up and stuff, people are not here for your best interest and heart. They are here to make their dollar. Valentine's Day, I had started my show almost 2 years ago on Valentine's Day. And the reason why I did that, and the reason why this all came about, because I was like, felt bad, because women get so depressed on Valentine's Day. They literally want to jump out windows on Valentine's Day. They get home depressed, they crying. I said, yo, the 13th, the 15th is the same like the 14th. You're great on these days. You're great on the 14th. So what? You don't have anyone. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate your friends. Go out to dinner. Don't make a big deal out of it. When it's time for you, it's going to happen. And one of my sorority sisters told me, when you start seeing people around you getting married and getting engaged, don't get jealous. Don't get mad. God is in your neighborhood. He's making his rounds in your neighborhood.
Amen.
So take it as good. When you see somebody be happy, get married, be happy for him, because he's near, he's close. So don't get all discouraged because you feel like you're the only single person in your. Concentrate on you, concentrate on God, service, go serve someone, go help somebody, go to a homeless shelter. See how life really is for some people. And you're going to realize your life is better than what you think it is. Go help people, and that's going to show you how good God is. And then you're going to start relaxing a little bit. You won't be so tense and stressed about getting a man, because you're going to fill your life with other stuff. And then when he comes, it's going to happen like it happened with you. Seamless.
Yeah,
Least
exactly.
expect it. Because when you worry about stuff, it never comes. As soon as you stop worrying about it, it comes really quick. So just don't put so much emphasis about being single. Just live your life.
Amen. I love it. I love your perspective. I'm so glad I got to have you on my show because, man, oh, thank you for just the mic drop.
Yeah, this is a great topic. I'm so glad you asked me to come on your platform, because this is really a serious matter. Like, there's so many, and I'm 52. When you get older, it gets worse, girl.
You
When you
don't
get
even
older,
look 52. God bless you. You got some good genes.
Thank you. But when you get over that 50, and when they make you think that your life is worthless. You don't have nobody. Oh, you're gonna die. You're gonna be an old maid with 8,000 cats.
I know. See, that's the thing that's so, it irks me, because the concept of time already bothers me, because the way that generations before they lived, usually around 40, 50 years old, they would die. But now people are realizing that people are living beyond 100 years old. Even in life insurance policies, they say after you reach 100, we will pay you your beneficiary, just because that's all they go up to. So people are living past 100. So once you reach 50, you're halfway there. Who's to say you're already done? People at 30 or 40, they already feel like, oh, I'm old. I have to start dressing old. I have to start doing old things. Like that was a problem with my mom.
You start
like,
claiming
I can't
old, you're gonna
dress.
get old. So you start claiming old, you're gonna get old.
Thank
Claiming is
you.
gonna happen.
Thank you. Yes. I feel like the mindset is what controls that, so if your mind is not old, well, then you're not old. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're immature. It just means that you're not going to allow an age to define you. And it doesn't matter if you're 52 and single, because you're still vibrant and still amazing. Everyone's amazing at their age that they're supposed to be single. And if you are young and stressing this, and if you're in your teens or early 20s stressing about being single, oh honey, honey, let it go. You are way too young to even be stressing. You're thinking that you're going to be alone forever. I know people, they don't even realize they think that what they see is what life is going to be, but you can live so many lives in your one life. And people don't realize that concept. You can do so many things. You can accomplish so many things that literally age does not define what you can and cannot do. I honestly believe it.
And one thing I want to say is women have to understand, do not get twisted about finances in picking a spouse or someone to date. Don't make it seem because he makes less than you, he's a less of a man.
Amen.
If he doesn't have, we had this on my show, and it's a good example we use. I said, if a man worked at McDonald's as a manager at McDonald's, and he worked at a manager at a Fortune 500 company. He's still in management. What's the difference? Because he worked at McDonald's, you think that's a lesser job, but he's in leadership role, whatever. He's consistent. He's been growing in that company. He's moving up in that company. Maybe McDonald's, he loves McDonald's. He loves how they treat their employees, and he wants to continue to move up. He want to own a McDonald's one day. Who knows? But you're going to base your whole relationship on because he works at McDonald's?
Yeah.
You not date him because he works at McDonald's? Because other people tell you, oh, he works at McDonald's. What? Okay, those what's girls gonna be sitting there by themselves 20 years later because they too busy picking people because of stuff like that. I always tell women, you want a good man, you want a man that works, yes. You want a man who's consistent, yes. You want a man that, provides, protects, and professional love, yes. You want all of that stuff. But you don't sit there and tell me if a man makes less than you, but he treats you as like a queen as you should, you're not gonna date him because society's gonna see that he makes less than you.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, these young girls, keep living, be 50. These women now, I guess they wish they could go back and get that man from back in 1990. Wish they could pull him from the past and throw him in the future. I'm telling you, don't let that be a deciding factor if you like someone and the only thing that you can find wrong with him and he make less money than you.
With that being said, I think that's a great topic. And I also wanted to bring up, because this is a big thing that's going around too. Well, how do you feel about sugar babies? And that concept of having a sugar daddy.
A sugar daddy?
Yeah, well, a sugar baby is basically as a female or a male that gets supported by either a male or a female.
Sugar daddy, but
a sugar baby,
for both sides. Yeah,
for both sides. Yeah, sugar baby. So I feel like it's a big thing. It's all over TikTok, all over social media about, oh, you could sign up and be someone's sugar baby, and you can have a sugar daddy, and you can still live your single life, but you're still committed to do certain things for what that you person want. Yeah. How do you feel about that? About that?
Well, only thing they doing is selling their soul.
Amen. Thank you for saying it so clear cut.
They just signed the contract and sold their soul. That's it. Because nothing's for free. You got to pay the piper eventually. Yeah, you get this money, you get this car or whatever, but you're technically their slave to do whatever they ask you to do, and you have no decision of making on it because you signed the contract that you just said, that's what you signed up for. I signed up for you to buy me this, and this. I'm going to do this, and this for you. It's a contract. You're swapping goods and services to each other. That's all it is. Yeah, you live a single life, but how single are you? Think about it. How single are you really? Because if that dude calls you at a certain time, whatever, you feel obligated to do what he asked you to do at that moment because he or you riding his car to go see him. Yep. So you know what I'm saying? So you have no life. You're really like dangling like a little, puppet on his little thing based on how much he give you. The more he give you, the more you owe him. Just keep remembering that. It looks cute on TikTok, but I guarantee you these women are not happy. And a lot of them are, have a lot of internal self-esteem, internal issues, self-esteem, validation, a lot of issues. People who sign up for this don't know who they are and they don't love themselves. Because if you love yourself enough, you would be like, heck to the nah. Dude, you crazy. You think I'm gonna sign up for you to buy? I could buy my own stuff. If you know what I'm saying, I don't need you for that. But these men do it because we are so open to be cute and we don't want to do it the right way. We want to go out there and get it the easy way and just say, and then like, oh, he brought me this. But what you're doing something. Yeah. Either you're having sex with him, whatever, it's basically prostitution. I mean, call it what it is. It's basically prostitution because anytime he asked for you, I had to give it to him because he gave you an advancement on your services. He already paid you for that already. So you owe it to him. You have to do it. There's no. And then you're too busy trying to I'm going to let society see how banging I am and I got the bag. You are too pride to give back the car because everybody see you driving and now you're like, oh, I don't want to give the car back. They're like, oh, what happened? You lost your car?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, I really believe it's a contract. That's all it is. You sign yourself to the government.
No, I love your perspective, man. I love having you on my show. It's like talking to just a friend. I love it. It's awesome. Yeah. It's such an awesome conversation. It's just an awesome topic because these are things that people really need to think about. You
They
know,
do.
with so much exposure that we are faced with in society and our daily lives, you know, we really have to be smart about what we absorb in. And
Mhm.
everything that you're saying, you know, is like a reality check. Like, should I have a V8? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I've heard that a
you
long
know,
time.
like people don't realize that. And I think just for you, just speaking realness, you know, from your heart and just from your own experiences and just of what it is, you know, because like you said, people will cover it, people will make it seem well what it is, but you know what, just because you sprinkle you sprinkle something on shit doesn't mean it's no longer shit, you know, like it's
Right, it's
still the
just
same
sweet.
thing. So
You're still right.
man, this is so awesome. But I
I'm just
guess
hoping
before
this
it
helps
cuts us
people.
off,
Yeah.
I don't want it to cut us off completely. So I guess
Okay.
what would be some great advice that you can possibly give my audience that may be going through this season?
Learn
Even though
who.
you've already gave them some great advice already, but to wrap it all up, what would be
Okay.
some great advice?
Let's go back to the foundation. Let's go learn who you are. Let's find out who you are in Christ. Let God guide you and trust the process.
Easy peasy. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you're making it more difficult than what it is, then go reach out to ReGina herself and she'll gladly guide you through this process
Absolutely.
because you don't have to go through this alone. You don't. You don't have to go through life alone, and you don't have to go through this time in our lives that we feel the loneliest, you know, but we have to realize that one, we're not alone because God is always by our side. And two, we're not alone because there's literally billions of human beings right next to us living among
Mhm.
us. You know what I mean? So you're not alone on this earth. There's somebody going through exactly what you're going through, but it's about communication. Communicate with other people and reach out. So if you want to reach out to ReGina personally, you can find her beautiful picture on mitzythinking.com. There's a link to go to her website. You can reach out to her. She wears so many hats that she could probably find a hat for you. And it'll work out, I promise you. She is such a pleasure, and I could only
Thank
imagine
you.
how she would really be one-on-one, you know, if
Mhm.
you do decide to give her that time. But if anything, you guys go check her out and stay tuned for more and be safe, y'all. Bye.
Bye.